Right now at 5:30, a case that has shaken the Carolinas. A man is accused of murdering and cannibalizing two patients at a mental health facility in the Palmetto State. And we want to warn you, the details of this gruesome lawsuit are disturbing. The suit filed by the family of Jared Andrea claims that he was placed into an assisted living facility in 2023, located in Richland County, just outside of Gaston, South Carolina. But he disappeared shortly after arriving, and documents say months later a second patient disappeared. Then another patient. Mark Anthony Cantrell admitted to police that he murdered and ate the ears and drank one of the victims' blood so he could, quote, gain their powers. Andrea was never found, and Cantrell is facing murder charges. A meeting is scheduled for a trial to be set for April 7th. It's going to bring in Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes to talk about this a little further. Khalif, we've talked about a lot of things here on this these newscasts, but nothing of this Hannibal Lecter nature here in this lawsuit.
Yeah, this is very disturbing. I mean, when we talked about it in the production meeting and talked to the producer about it, I mean, my first reaction was like, okay, this is extremely outside of what we would normally think. I didn't have that on my card of an idea of what we would have discussing today. What I can say is disturbing facts. The family recognized that there was something wrong. They reached out. And these facts, I mean, as you start to dig into this complaint, they lay out all the allegations, as you mentioned, and this person admitted in graphic detail to doing the very things. So you have a couple of things. You have the criminal component, but you also have the civil component that you have to deal with, and that's what this is. This is a civil complaint. So a couple of things, when he talks about the rationale for doing it, the reason for doing it, that's going to hit more to the criminal component. Does this person even have capacity to go to trial? But with this complaint, with the civil complaint, the family's not filing a lawsuit against him. It's against the agency. It's against the state. It's against these folks for failing to do what they're supposed to do, specifically protect their family member. And so when we talk about the claim, there's four. The largest one is the wrongful death. Any wrongful death claim has its basis in negligence, duty, breach, causation, and damages. And so the question that you'd have to ask is, was there duty? Did they breach that duty? Was the breach of that duty the proximate cause? The question is, but for you failing to do something, i.e. protect my family member, they'd still be here. And then the damages, the ultimate damage is death. And so that's how the jury would have to make a determination. That's what we would have to walk through all of those questions. And these attorneys will be walking through, not just in this complaint, but in the jury trial.
Yeah, you're talking about your discovery along these type of things. When you're thinking about there's got to be some sort of cameras. For a guy to do something like this, you'd have to have some sort of access and time and where and how you're going to get that done inside a mental health facility. 100%.
And that's how they found out. And so the first person went missing and they didn't find the person. The second person that was killed, the second person that was potentially and partially eaten, that person, he was in the process of removing the body and they saw him on camera. And so those are the types of things when you talk about discovery, when you're saying, hey, I filed my complaint, now turn over to me everything that you have. Those are the types of things that you'll be trying to find, and hopefully they'll find evidence that this has occurred, and they'll be able to say, well, where were your monitors? Where were the folks that were to be walking the halls? Where were the people that were supposed to make sure that my relative was not in the hands of this person that should not have had access to them? Because he was a patient at this facility.
Yeah, and then it's certainly good. Where does this case go from here? Where does this end?
I mean, trial. I mean, you're asking for a jury trial. They mentioned in a complaint that they reached out and attempted to settle. They made an offer. And when you have a complaint like this, before you file it, you make a demand letter. So they sent a demand to the state and they said, look, this is what we're willing to settle for, $600,000. They declined to settle. So once you've declined to settle, typically in those demand letters, there'll be a date. If you don't accept my offer by a certain amount of date, I'll file my complaint. Exactly what we have. We have a filed complaint. And typically when that happens, normally the jury award, if they find in favor of the plaintiffs, is higher than what the original settlement offer was.
And it's certainly a horrifying, gruesome type of story that we will keep following and find out exactly where this does land, if there's any more that are out there. All right. Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes, thanks.